So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. So guys, Chris Eubank, after his emphatic win against Liam Smith, has come out and called out Canelo. Obviously, there's a lot of talk. Sorry about the lack of videos, guys. It's been a bit busy. But Chris Eubank has come out and said he wants to fight with Saul Canelo Alvarez. What do you guys make of this potential fight with Chris Eubank? Now, Chris Eubank is a guy that a lot of people in the UK are not big fans of his. He's somebody that people think has got where he's got to because of his dad's name, and they're interested. They're interested. Well, Eubank now, after a win against Liam Smith, feels that he wants to fight Canelo Alvarez. Now, Canelo Alvarez has been somebody that everybody chases. Why? Because it's a big payday. Now, Chris Eubank says that Canelo Alvarez is about the money, and if he wants a big payday and he's after an A-lister, he believes he himself is an A-lister. Now, Canelo Alvarez can fight me, you, anybody and make a lot of money. So he's not going to be chasing Chris Eubank. Now, there are fighters out there that would look to fight Chris Eubank because of his name, because they know it could be a big fight and big payday. But Canelo Alvarez is not one of those guys. Canelo Alvarez is a guy that makes big money no matter who he fights. And Chris Eubank Jr. probably doesn't fit what Canelo Alvarez is looking for, because Canelo Alvarez is right now the biggest name in boxing, and I don't think he really cares about Chris Eubank Jr. Eubank Jr. is obviously, he lives in a world where, although I think Chris Eubank Jr. is probably a bit disrespected more than he deserves, I think he's a much better fighter. I think he's a better fighter than what people give him credit for. Having said that, do I think Chris Eubank Jr. is world class? No. Do I think Chris Eubank Jr. is an elite fighter? No. But I think Chris Eubank Jr. is most definitely a fighter that could potentially win a world title. Him chasing Canelo Alvarez, for me, I would like to see Chris Eubank win a legitimate world title, become a proper world champion, which I think he can, which I don't think is out of his grasp. I think if he fights the right opponent, Janabek hasn't looked exactly great, so maybe a fight with Janabek makes sense. But Chris Eubank, right at the age he's at, where he's at in his career, Chris Eubank Jr. is looking for a big fight. He's looking for fights that it's not about world title. And I think Simon Jordan, that's why Simon Jordan called him a charlatan, because Simon Jordan basically says, well, Chris Eubank says one thing, but then he does another. He doesn't really show any desire of becoming a world champion. That's because he doesn't care about that. He cares about big fights and big money fights. Now, obviously, if he fights Canelo Alvarez, he'll be getting an opportunity at winning not just one, but 4 belts and becoming undisputed. Now, I don't think anybody thinks that Chris Eubank Jr. beats Canelo Alvarez, especially now that he's been exposed by Liam Smith, that he can be hit and hurt. I think we expect Canelo Alvarez would dust him off and stop him in that fight. But the thing is with Eubank knows that obviously he can get a huge payday, and that's what it's about. He could get a big payday with Canelo Alvarez, and he can also say, look, I tried to fight the best. I fought for a undisputed championship, but I still don't think it's great ambition, because I think Eubank should be looking to actually look for a fight where it's not just about the money, and it's about him winning a world title where he can actually win against the guy that he's fighting, or he has a good chance. And then after, if he wins a world title and then goes for Canelo and goes for these guys, I don't have a problem, because at that point, at that point, once he becomes a world champion, once you become a world champion, what's it about? You've achieved everything that you wanted to. You can legitimately say in years to come that, look, I was a legitimate world champion. I held a world title. And then it's about you wanting to make as much money as possible, right? And that's fair enough then. But Eubanks never won a legitimate world title. He should be, chasing Canelo. He's probably going to get another loss, right? Why not become a legitimate world champion? Say that, look, I'm a world champion. I can call myself a world champion. And then fight, and then look to get a Canelo fight, because then you would have achieved, when you become a world champion, like I said, you've achieved everything. Yeah, especially for a fighter that's limited like Eubank. Him going on holding a world title and becoming a unified champion and undisputed, that's a bit far-fetched for someone like Eubank. If he does that, he would have overachieved. With the kind of talent that he had, he would have overachieved in his career, right? But for me, for me, I think if I think Eubank can win a world title against the right opponent. That would be a great achievement. Then, if he wants to fight Canelo Alvarez and then test the waters and see if he can pull off the what I would call a miracle, because I can't see him beating Canelo, then that's okay, because then you've done what you've done. But by you not fighting for a world title against a guy that I believe he could beat Janabek. That's a winnable fight. The Canelo fight is not a winnable fight for me. I think Canelo would beat Eubank comfortably, right? So for me, first, what Eubank needs to do is needs to win a legitimate world title, right? Win a legitimate world title, then it's okay. You can fight who you want. You can go and fight your Canelo Alvarez's and people like that, because then like I said, he would have done it all. He would have done it all for him to go and take those big leaps. But right now, he's never been a world title holder. You know, legitimate world IBO, but that's not a world title. I'm talking WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO. Those are the legitimate world title belts, you know, and you need to hold one of them. And he's never held one of them. And look, he can hold one of them because they're the fighters at middleweight now. Look, Charlo hasn't fought for 2 years. You know, Janabek is there. You know, you could beat him. You know, so for me, he needs to win that, and then he can go up to 168 and look to fight Canelo. You know, but Canelo's not going to be interested in Chris Eubank Jr. for the money, because Eubank Jr. isn't that big a fight, and he's not that big a name to Canelo Alvarez. Yeah, maybe to somebody else, like an Andrade, when Andrade was chasing him. That's because Andrade doesn't get big fights. Canelo gets big fights. Canelo can fight anybody and make a lot of money, and his level of making money is ridiculous. And if he fights Chris Eubank Jr., he's not going to be getting paid more money because he's fighting Chris Eubank Jr. Because if he was to fight in America, you know, Eubank Jr. is not that well known there, where people are going to be paying Canelo 100 million to fight Eubank. So it's not like Canelo's going to get way more money to fight Eubank. There's literally no reason for Canelo to fight Eubank. There's no reason out there. It's not really a fight that people are calling for. It's not really a legitimate fight. It's not really a fight which is, people would say, is very, very competitive. And it's Eubank isn't that big a name where Canelo's going to be getting paid huge money for it, in America especially, because Eubank isn't a star in America. You know, so I don't really see how Eubanks feels to think that he has some sort of pulling power is going to get him that fight, because Canelo Alvarez, like I said, can fight anybody and make a lot of money because he's a big fight. He's a big name in the sport of boxing. So putting himself forward for a Canelo fight because he thinks he's an A-lister and he can get, Canelo's looking for a big payday. Canelo gets a big payday no matter who he fights. The fight with Charlo's a big payday. The fight with maybe Jamal Charlo would be a big payday. And then if he was to fight Benavidez, that would be an even bigger payday. So, like, I don't think Canelo Alvarez needs Chris Eubank Jr. For a fight. I think Canelo could fight anybody and make a shed load of money. So, yeah, I think Eubank's got it all twisted there. If he thinks that for some reason he's going to be some kind of big fight for Canelo Alvarez, I don't think that'll be a big fight for Canelo at all. If anything, I think Canelo would get criticized for fighting a guy that was stopped brutally by Liam Smith. Yeah, he beat Liam Smith in the rematch, but the fact that he was even beaten by Smith, I think that would really knock his credibility for a fight with Canelo Alvarez. Personally, I don't think that's a fight where in America it will be received too well. And I don't think it's a fight that would do that well on pay-per-view, because, like I said, firstly, Eubank isn't that big a name. And the fact that Canelo would be fighting a guy that was potentially beaten by Liam Smith, I just don't think that fight, because Liam Smith, when he lost to Canelo Alvarez, people had a certain perception of Liam Smith. Although he fought a decent fight, I think they knew that Liam Smith wasn't on Canelo's level. Now, Liam Smith beat Eubank. Yeah, okay, Eubank reversed it in the rematch, but nonetheless, I mean, you know, he still lost to Liam Smith. So people are going to look at it, this is a guy that lost to Liam Smith, you know. So yeah, I can't see that being a fight. I honestly can't see that being a fight. I can't see that being a fight that Canelo's even interested in. And I don't even think Canelo's ever even spoke about Eubank, to be honest. I don't even think he's ever spoke about it being a fight of that he's interested in, because Eubank is just so irrelevant to Canelo that I just don't see how that fight ever comes off, in my personal opinion. But leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.